Welcome back to Betrayal in Blue, Cops Who've Crossed the Line, number 6. It's been a while since I did my last episode. I'm back now. Had a few personal things going on, and plus we had the holidays. So now we're back. Do me a favor, if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell notification. Every time I do a new video, you'll be aware of when it goes online live. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment in the comment section with whatever comments you have to make it better, or comment on the current video, the stories that I put out there. I have links in the description for merchandise. You could buy T-shirts, coffee cups, whatever you want related to the 7.5. This is one of the shirts. As you can see, welcome to the land of F. On the back, it says 7.5, do or die. We also have coffee cups. You can see me drink them in previous videos. There it is with the map of the 7.5. There's also links to Amazon to purchase the book. You guys know my book, Betrayal in Blue. Or the 7.5 documentary itself is also available online. You can purchase that. All right, let's get into the stories. First story I got is sort of interesting. It's not related to the 7.5 itself, but it's related to myself and my wife personally. It wasn't mentioned in the documentary. It is mentioned in my book briefly. Back in the 70s, my wife's father and her uncle both owned check cashing stores in Manhattan, also in Queens. My wife's father store was right across from the, I believe it was the 9th precinct in Manhattan. Her uncle had a store in Queens. Back in the 70s, there was, when you made a deposit or got a money out to cash people's checks, they didn't use Loomis or Wells Fargo or nothing like that. They didn't use security drivers and Brinks trucks, nothing like that. They would take the money themselves in a briefcase or whatever, go to the bank and deposit it. Very dangerous situation. My wife's uncle was actually shot and killed during one of these deposits back in the 70s. I believe it was 1972. There was a brief mention of it in the New York Times. There was a shootout. He was shot multiple times. Once it was in the face. So very hard subject for my wife. Her father, who owned the store in Manhattan, continued for many years until he passed with his store. He passed of natural causes. It had nothing to do with robberies or nothing like that. So the situation with my wife's uncle, his name was Sidney, and he had a check cashing store. His son at the time worked with him. His son's name was Richard. Instead of me just going by memory and what my wife has told me, she was a kid at the time, so she didn't remember too much other than her uncle was robbed and murdered. I'm just going to read you the story that was in the New York Times. It's only a couple of paragraphs, so bear with me. Okay, this was in the New York Times. The title of it was Check Cashing Man Slain in Brooklyn as Children Watch. I don't believe it was Brooklyn, though. I believe it was Queens because the store was in Queens. So the title is already wrong. All right, here we go. A 55-year-old Brooklyn man who the police said was carrying a considerable amount of money from his check cashing company was fatally shot by 2 holdup men outside his home. Okay, so it was in Brooklyn. It was outside his home. Was fatally shot by 2 holdup men outside his home on Friday night as his son and daughter looked on from inside the house. The assailants fled empty-handed after an exchange of gunfire with the man and his 25-year-old son. The victim, Sidney Albert, which is my wife's uncle, had just driven from his business check cashing company at 135-03 Roosevelt Avenue in Flushing, Queens. So the check cashing store was in Queens, and was getting out of his car on Flatlands Avenue in Seaview Village when the two men approached him. So they must have been watching him for a while. They probably followed him from the store, probably watching the store, followed him back to his house. They apparently were attempting to rob him. He began to shout. His son, Richard, who works with him, arrived home just briefly before his dad, heard his calls for help, as did also his 15-year-old sister. Richard opened the door, looked out through the glass storm door, and saw the two robbers and his father struggling. He shouted to his father, give them the money. Give it to them. They got a lot of parentheses and quotations. Then he went to get his own pistol. The older Mr. Albert Sidney apparently managed to pull out his gun, but was too late. At that point, one of the thugs fired his gun twice, hitting Sidney in the face. Richard Albert fired 2 shots through the glass door at the gunman, who fled. The latter turned and fired a shot at the son. So I guess one of the assailants fired a shot at the son. The bullet embedded itself in Richard's shoe. The holdup men fled, reportedly in a yellow car, without any proceeds from the robbery. And that's how they ended. So that's an interesting story. Has, again, nothing to do with cops, bad cops, or the 7-5, but it is part of my wife's family history. Crazy story. It is also in my book, Betrayal in Blue. Okay, let's go on to our first story, which is a bad cop segment. Last week, this just happened. It was in Memphis, Tennessee. An on-duty cop, his name was Patrick Ferguson. He was charged with murder, kidnapping, abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence. Patrick, while he was on duty, took his patrol car, went to his ex-girlfriend's house, who also is a police officer, and abducted by gunpoint her new boyfriend, got him into the back of his patrol car, drove about a half a mile away, shot and killed the new boyfriend of his ex-girlfriend. I don't have no photos of his ex-girlfriend, but if anyone could find one, find her name, I'd love to know what this girl looked like. If Patrick Ferguson is going to commit a murder over this, kidnapping and murder. I mean, it's a crazy story. While he was on duty, no less, and in the patrol car. Patrick also then got one of his friends to move the body. So I believe this friend must have rolled on him, because when they brought Patrick in for questioning, he admitted to the whole thing. There was probably tons of evidence in the back of the car, blood spatter and all that. He was immediately fired and hit with all those charges: first-degree murder, kidnapping, tampering with evidence. I'm assuming that's for moving a body, and abuse of a corpse, also for probably moving a body. So Patrick Ferguson, going to put up his picture. Crazy story. And again, if anyone has a picture of his ex-girlfriend, who is also a cop, I'd love to see it. Put it in the comments section, or send it to me on social media, and we'll put it up next week. Crazy story. Next is Q&A. This is a crazy question, but it was sent to me multiple times by different people. They wanted to know if my ex-partner was so into using cocaine and so high on cocaine all the time, why was he never drug tested while he was on the job? Actually, he was drug tested. Um, they attempted to drug test him twice. The first time he was in the 7-5 precinct, and he heard from a PBA delegate that there was going to be a drug test coming down for him, and he immediately admitted himself to the farm. And I think I've talked about this before. It's definitely in my book. And the farm is a alcohol rehab program. So he got out of that drug test. I don't know at what point he was out of the 7-5 by this point where second drug test came down. And also drug tests is supposed to be random, which they're not. I mean, if they suspect you, they're gonna hit you with a drug test and say it was random. Also, there's probably other cops that sent information to internal affairs about him because it was pretty obvious he was using cocaine at the time. Anyway, so a second test came down and he was panicking because he was definitely going to piss positive on cocaine. So he was panicking about this, and tell you, he's like an evil genius. My ex-partner, he came up with this plan, and this is in my book. This whole story. Now they have things out there, false penises, they're called Whizinators and things like that, where you could load it up with clean urine if you get called for a drug test. Back then, they didn't have that. So this was probably around, I don't know, 89, 90 when this test happened. So what he does is he gets a squeezed mustard bottle, thoroughly cleans it out, fills it up with clean urine, tapes it up under his arm. So that way it's body temperature. You don't have to worry about that. He gets clear fishing tube, like from a fish tank, hooks it up to the squeezed mustard bottle, runs that down the side of his body, inside his underwear, and down to his crotch, and plugs up the end of the fishing tube with I don't know, a bolt or a screw or something. I don't remember exactly what he used. And he goes in for his test, and they take him in for the test wherever it was done. I guess it was done at probably at headquarters or wherever. I never went for one, so I don't know exactly where it's done. Maybe the medical department for the police department. Anyway, so he goes in, and there's a officer, I guess, who's going to watch him while he does this. And my partner, everybody knows he's very charismatic and talks a mile a minute. Plus, coke, he was probably talking a mile a minute. So he's talking to the guy, and he starts up a conversation about some female that was out in the waiting room. Oh, isn't she a hot female? And to distract the guy, so he's not physically looking over his shoulder while he's peeing into the cup or the tube, whatever they use, test tube. And the guy's not right on top of him. He stands back from the stall, and he's in the stall with the door open, but he's behind my ex-partner, facing his back. So he's not really seeing him at his crotch. So he pulls his zipper down, he takes out the tube, takes out the little bolt, and he's got the cup, and he squeezes under his arm. The fresh urine comes out, the clean urine goes in, plugs it back up, takes the sample, puts the cover on, hands it to the guy, clean urine, and he's good to go. He beats the urine test. So pretty, I guess, ingenious of my ex-partner to do that. That was the Q&A. As everybody knows, there was an article that came out, I believe it was on Collider, that put out an updated article on the 7-5 movie coming out. The movie is still in works. We talked about it. Collider made it public about what's going on. Ben Stiller is the director. That was the big part of the story. They named the screenwriter also. They named the production company, and all this is on my Facebook group, the 7-5 movie. If you haven't liked that page or joined that page, please go to the Facebook and do it. This is called the 7-5 movie. It's the name of the group. I put up a post about it. Tony McNamara, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, is a screenwriter with Ben Stiller. MGM is the production company that took over for Sony, and they just recently, movieinsider.com is a website that follows production of movies, pre-production, post-production, things that are actually going on. And they just recently updated their website and named, what's his name? I wrote it down. Aaron Taylor Johnson. I'm not familiar with him. He's an actor, as being cast in the movie. They actually put it down on their website. Don't know exactly who he's going to be cast for. There was speculation that it's going to be for my ex-partner. They haven't officially named anyone else. So I guess that's official. It's on the Movie Insider website. Aaron Taylor Johnson is going to be cast in the movie. I'm sure things could always change if things drag out and he moves on to another project. Who knows? I don't know what type of contracts he signed or if that's written in stone. So it's coming. It's gonna be coming to fruition. There's gonna be a Hollywood version of the 7-5 documentary and my book. Go get my book before the movie version comes out. Pick it up on Amazon, Betrayal in Blue, where you'll get the actual real story of what's out there. The documentary was obviously edited. The book has the full story in it. The movie version, obviously, it's going to be for entertainment, so they could write whatever they want. I'm sure it'll be good. It's going to be, based in truth, so that's great. So that's all we have for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel, share this video on your social media, and comment and like the video. It helps with the algorithms for YouTube, and it will let me produce more videos that way. I will see you guys next week for episode, this is 6, so episode 7 next week. Send in your questions, write them down in the comment section or send them to my social media, and we'll have a new story next week. Thanks so much for tuning in.